I have one. When I was 16, 17 years old, my bedroom was the attic of my parents' house. One night, I proceed to have one of the most real feeling dreams I've ever had. In the dream, I'm sleeping in my bed. I wake up in the dream to an older woman standing in the corner of my bedroom. I do not know this woman, never seen this woman. She actually looked quite ghost-like, a little translucent. You could see through her a bit. Like she she looked like a ghost. She proceeds to ask me, I have a son. He needs someone to play with. Would you mind playing with him? Not sure why I chose to say yes, but I did. And I was like, yeah, I'll totally play with your son. That seems totally normal. Like, we're in a dream, so, like, fine, I'll play with your son. As soon as I say, yeah, I'll play with your son, he appears, like, if I'm laying in my bed, like, she's on this side, he appears on this side of the room, like, right where the stairs are, the top of the steps. And he starts to walk over to my bed, comes to my bed, and he's like, let's play arm wrestling. So I'm like, yeah, no problem. Let's play arm wrestling. So I put my hand up like this. He puts his hand in my hand, and we are arm wrestling. At first, it's like a good give and go. We're like, oh, yeah. And then, like, he pins my hand completely down. I feel his hand, hold on. I feel his hand around my hand, ice cold. He pins my hand down and is staring at me. And I'm like, okay, like, let's play again. And he goes, I don't think you want to play this game with me. Just like that, like, dead stare. I don't think you want to play this game with me. So I'm like, what does that mean? Let's play, like, okay, let's play the game. So he goes, no problem. Digs his nails into my hand like that and starts pinning my hand to the bed, yelling, I win, 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 I win. I rip my hand away from his. I feel the scratch marks on my, like, right here. And then he takes a step back with this, like, grin on his face. And he becomes this, like, black cloud of smoke. And I know that sounds unreal, but just stay with me. So he's this big cloud of smoke. This is all still in the dream. I get up, I'm screaming, I jump out of my bed. Here's where it gets crazy. I jump out of my bed in the dream and I wake up in real life and I am fully standing on my feet. So as I'm standing on my feet, I'm like, what the fuck just happened? I'm out. I'm down the stairs, out the room, right? And so my mom and my sister are downstairs in the kitchen cooking breakfast. My mom is a very spiritual person, so I have no problem just being like, yo, this is what just happened. And it's like, disregard the dream if you want, but I was fully standing when I woke up. Insane. And so typically, not saying typically like this happens all the time to me, but like we regularly would have priests come over, bless the house, things like that. So like, that's not weird. So like my mom throwing holy water around the house is not like an odd thing in my household. So like, I'm expecting her to be like, okay, let me go get the holy water. I'll spray your room down. Like, not a big deal. She goes, the holy water is right there. You're going to go get it and go upstairs and throw it around your room with some salt. I'm like, why are you not doing it? She's like, I think you should do it. And I'm like, okay, this is insane. So I take the salt, I take the holy water, I go upstairs. My sister's like, I'll come with you, but I'm staying at the bottom of the stairs. Everybody's acting scared. And so I'm like, okay, I'm not crazy. This is something. So I have the holy water, I have the salt, I go upstairs. I have the holy water in like a little cup, and I have the salt. I go upstairs, and so I'm like throwing the holy water around, just a little frap around. And I have the salt, and I throw it onto my bed, and it sizzles. Bitch. I never ran down a flight of stairs faster in my life. I don't even think I touched one step. I jumped from the top 11 steps down, bow, hit it. I was downstairs the next flight, bow, hit it. I didn't stop for shit. I said the only way I'm going back up there is if y'all bring a priest to hose this house down with a fire truck of holy water. I'm not playing at all with y'all. And so my mama got the priest to come, and he blessed the whole house, top to bottom. He didn't miss no floor, no nook, no cranny. And I never had an experience like that again. So I don't know where that little boy is at, but I hope his soul is at rest because he.
I promise you will be entertained, but if you start the story, please stay till the end. So when I was 5 years old, my entire family was killed in a car crash, and I was the sole survivor. When I turned 18, I decided to move out of state for college because I didn't really have any friends or family in the area anyway. I ended up going to Massachusetts. When I got there, I didn't really know anybody. It was a totally new environment. It was unfamiliar. It was kind of scary, but eventually I met a guy at the school. He was really nice. We started dating. Eventually we got a place together, and we lived in that house together for 3 years, and we were happy the whole time. Like, he's very, very sweet, very caring, very loving. You know, I just didn't feel alone for the first time, and it was absolutely wonderful. But around the 3-year mark, I started going through something. I started not to feel good. So obviously my first guess was pregnancy, so I took a pregnancy test, but that wasn't it. I was having like headaches and stomach aches and feeling nauseated all the time, feeling like extra sleepy, but it wasn't really like life-ruining symptoms. So I just started doing like ginger for the nausea and like soup if I had a tummy ache, you know, a little bit of Excedrin if I had a headache, you know, whatever, you make it work. But the symptoms just kind of kept getting worse. And like sometimes they would be so bad, I'd have a migraine or a nausea to the point that I couldn't even get up out of bed. And my boyfriend's like, babe, I think you should go see a doctor. And I'm like, what is a doctor gonna do? Like, it's not like I can't breathe. It's not like I have chest pain. I just have random unspecified symptoms. Like, what is he gonna do? But he's like, babe, like, you do not feel good. Like, you should go see a doctor. And I'm like, fine, whatever. So he schedules me a doctor's appointment. I go see the doctor, and it's exactly what I thought it was gonna be. The doctor is just like, there's nothing wrong with you. And I'm like, cool. So I go back home, and things don't get better, but they start to get worse. Because now I'm not just feeling physically bad, I'm feeling bad mentally. And I don't mean my emotions. I'm not sad or depressed. I'm dealing with confusion. I keep finding things in my house in weird places that they shouldn't be. I open my kitchen drawer to get out cutlery, fork, knife. All my earrings are in there. I go look at my jewelry rack. All my cutlery's in there. Paintings that were hanged on the wall are like turning upside down. And at first I'm just like, okay, you know, whatever, these things are very bizarre, but they're not really frightening. Like, I'm just trying to make this logical or reasonable in any way that I can. But I'm forgetting appointments. My fatigue is increasing. Like, it's just so much happening. And then it starts off slow. Little shadows of, like, in my peripheral vision. Little sounds. And you know, like, you can have those things normally. Like, I think we all have those things occasionally. But they're coming more common and more frequent. And I'm starting to lose, like, time. Like, whole days I cannot remember. So finally I make myself an appointment. I go see a therapist. She does the intake, my assessment, and she's like, okay, you fit the diagnostic criteria for schizophrenia. So that was kind of like hard to hear, but at the same time I was thinking, okay, well, now we know what's wrong with me, I can get some help. And my therapist assured me, like, the medication we have these days can make your symptoms like almost nothing. You can go back to living a normal life. And I'm very grateful. I'm like, okay, good. So I break the news to my boyfriend, which was really scary because he was such a sweet and supportive person. I was just scared of being too much of a burden on him or losing him because he was kind of the only person that I had. But he was super sweet, super supportive. He held me while I cried. He went to go pick up my medication for me after running me a bath, like, you know, just really taking care of me. So I start taking my medicines, but things do not get better. In fact, they get worse because any kind of visuals or auditory hallucinations I was having are becoming more and more and more defined. And we switch medications like 2 or 3 times, and my therapist is like, oh, sometimes, you know, you gotta switch medications a couple times until you find what works. But things are actively getting worse, and I'm seeing and hearing things in my house, and I know that, like, it feels so real. So at this point I become convinced that I'm not sick, but my house is haunted. I know that sounds insane, but when you are dealing with so much confusion, bizarre things in your house, bizarre noises, like, you become afraid, and you're willing to believe almost like anything that could possibly make things better. So I start getting into like these spiritual people talking about the paranormal, and I start trying to like do different things, you know, like I'm burning sage, I'm doing like, you know, whatever. And finally one day my boyfriend has to go help his dad with something, so he leaves me home alone. And I don't fully know what happened, but I do know that apparently I ended up leaving my house a little bit scantily clad. And apparently I was just kind of running around aimlessly, got picked up by the police, taken to the hospital, and obviously psych. And I wake up in the hospital, and as soon as I wake up, the nurse is all over me, like white on rice. And she tells me just wait right there a moment. And I don't know how much time has passed. All I know is that I just woke up in the hospital and I'm in a room by myself, completely isolated. There's nobody else there. And she comes back with a doctor, my therapist, 3 people, a man, a woman, and another girl. And they're all nicely dressed, beautiful people. And they look really familiar to me, but I'm like, I don't know. I'm not sure of anything anymore. And somebody who is not in a hospital uniform, and that person is in a police uniform. So now I'm looking at this cop and this room full of people like, what did I do? What did I do? I'm afraid. So I asked them, like, am I in trouble? Am I in trouble? And they're like, no, you're not in trouble. You're not in trouble. But, you know, I'm thinking they're just saying that to get me to, like, talk about whatever it was that happened. So the cop is, you know, he's asking me all these questions. Then the doctor cuts in and asks questions. And the nurse is writing a bunch of things down. And the therapist is writing a bunch of things down. But their questions are, like, mad normal. They're just like, what's your name? How old are you? Where did you go to school? Where did you grow up? Tell us about your family. Da da da. And I'm like, okay, like, where are we getting to all this? And I'm just assuming, I've never been in this situation before in like a psych, whatever. So I'm just sitting there thinking like, okay, whatever. I don't know their policy. So finally, they end up telling me that they have to give me some news. And my heart is pounding out of my chest at this point, because what news are you about to give me? I guarantee you guys cannot predict what the news was. My name was not the name that I thought I was. In fact, I was not the girl that I thought that I was. Apparently, when I was 17, I was working at the country club that my parents were a part of, and I was a lifeguard. And there was a boy there whose family was not part of the country club, but he had like a small summer job washing dishes or something. And he developed a very unhealthy fixation on me. And he made me very uncomfortable, and he was following me and watching me, and my family was very worried about it. My friends were very worried about it, but I wasn't worried about it because I was just like, you know, whatever, I'm going to be leaving for college soon. And I was an Ohio kid, and I was going to the Ohio State University, and I was very excited about that. The boy, when the summer ended, went to college, and guess where he went to college? Massachusetts. The boyfriend that I had been living with for 3+ years, he actually kidnapped me, took me to Massachusetts, made me shave my head and wear wigs, used a combination of hypnosis tactics, medicines, and illegal substances and abuse to brainwash me into thinking I was a totally different girl. He told me that my family had died in a car crash. That was absolutely not true. My entire family is alive and well, and they were the 3 people that were in the hospital room when I woke up. He was using sedatives and hallucinogens and any illegal substance basically he could get his hands on to make me think that I was going crazy so that my dependence on him would never end. Oh, and I know that you're probably thinking, oh, but didn't he tell you to go to the doctor? Yeah, he did. The doctor he sent me to was his dad, who was previously a doctor but lost his nursing license for basically being inappropriate with patients. And get this, his father was a serial unaliver responsible for the deaths of 8 women in Hyannis. And when I was taken into the hospital, they were finally able to identify me and give me my life back. If you stayed until the end of this video, that was completely fake. That was only for entertainment purposes. None of those things happened to me. I do make original horror content. I am an author and a poet. I hope you guys liked my story. If you stayed for the whole thing, if you would like to see more original horror content on my channel, comment down below. I really hope you guys were entertained by that.
A girl named Jay emailed me and she said, I have a scary story about a time that I slept over at this girl's house when I was in 6th grade. And apparently the girl's grandmother had made a deal with the devil, and the things that happened that night still freak me out to this day. The details are specific enough in this story that I believe her, and she swears this is true. So Jay's like 12 when this happens. She's at the roller rink with a few of her friends where all the kids hung out. They run into this other girl that they go to school with, who she calls Emily for the story. They went to school with Emily, but they never hung out with her up until this night. But they're all having a good time, and Emily invites them over for a sleepover at her house. So they check with their parents. Their parents are like, that's fine. They all go to Emily's house. The girls spend the night doing normal 6th grade girl sleepover things, eating snacks, gossiping about boys, watching movies. Nothing is strange except for the fact that Emily's grandmother also lives in the house, and she's weird. She walks in and out of rooms but doesn't acknowledge them, doesn't even look at them, like doesn't speak the entire time. It's time for bed. All the girls are in the living room, and right before they fall asleep, Emily says, by the way, my house is haunted, so if you see anything tonight, don't freak out. And some of the girls laugh, but this really unsettles Jay, and she's like, what are you talking about? Your house is haunted. She said at that point in her life, she did believe in ghosts. She had played with Ouija boards at other sleepovers and had some strange encounters with that. So she didn't like the fact that Emily just nonchalantly says, oh yeah, by the way, my house is haunted. So she's in her head about this. The other girls fall asleep, and she stays up for like another hour watching ridiculousness reruns, and then finally turns the TV off and tries to go to bed. She's dozing off when she hears a cabinet creak open in the kitchen. So she flips over, looks in the kitchen, and sees a cabinet door opening by itself. And then she says she sees a very prominent apparition of an older woman dressed in a long black tinted blue dress. She says she remembers this woman clear as day. She had her hair pinned back in a black bun on the top of her head, and she was staring out the patio door into the yard. Jay says she was trying to figure out who this woman was, and she's just staring at her when suddenly the woman notices that Jay is staring at her and jerks her head to look at her, and she has no eyes, just empty gray-black sockets. She shakes her friend that's sleeping next to her. Her friend wakes up, sees the apparition, and they both lock eyes and just realize how terrifying this is. The woman is still staring at them. Jay says that even thinking about it now, she wants to throw up. So her and her friend that are awake run upstairs into Emily's bedroom, and Emily's bedroom is so creepy at night because she has porcelain dolls all over her room on shelves covering the entire walls. They're like, we don't like this room, so they go into her little brother's room. Her brother was at her dad's house that night, so he's not there, but it's a very peaceful race car theme, very childish, just calming. We're up there for about 20 minutes, just like freaking out, talking about it, when Emily comes upstairs and she asks where Tammy is. Tammy's the other friend that's still sleeping in the living room. Apparently Emily woke up, Tammy's not there, so they all go back downstairs to look for Tammy. They get back downstairs, they notice the basement door is cracked open, so they peek their heads in and they see Tammy at the base of the stairs marching in place and saluting something. They call her name, she's unresponsive, but they're not about to go in the basement alone, so they just go back up to her brother's room and talk about it, and they're like, this is actually really messed up to leave her down there. So they get the courage to go back downstairs and get Tammy, but when they get back in the living room, Tammy is now sitting in a rocking chair facing the fireplace with her hair covering her face, just rocking. Scream her name, she doesn't respond, so the girls freak out again, run back up into the brother's room, and they're up there for a little while talking about what to do when finally Tammy comes upstairs. Tammy's normal. She's like, why are you guys up here? They're like, we literally just saw you saluting nothing in the basement and then rocking in a rocking chair and you wouldn't wake up. And she thought that they were messing with her. So she's like, no, I wasn't. And she's like, I actually just had a really weird dream about a soldier. Tammy's like, I must have been sleepwalking. And the girls are like, no, you were literally possessed. The girls are all huddled up in the brother's room with the door closed, and Emily's telling them that they've had lots of activity in their house over the years, but she's never had a sleepover before. So maybe that's why the activity was more prominent tonight. And they start hearing running up and down in the hallway outside the door. Emily's like, yeah, this is pretty normal for my house. Like I told you, it was haunted. And they decide that they're going to call up some other girls they know, the toughest girls they know, the goth girl. She says, looking back, it was a very 6th grade thing to do, but the goth girls answer the phone. They're like, yeah, we'll come over. They lived up the street and they were excited to go ghost hunting in Emily's house. The goth girls get there, and now Jay says that she has found herself leading the charge of this ghost hunt. So she's like, yeah, I have to show you the basement. Like that's where we saw Tammy marching. They all go to the top of the basement stairs, and she's explaining what happened when all of a sudden she is pushed down the stairs. She comes to at the bottom of the stairs. She looks up at the top and she sees all the girls standing there, and their faces are just shocked, pale white. She calls up from the bottom. She's like, what the hell? Did you guys push me? And they're like, no, you literally just flew down the stairs on your own. She says she goes back upstairs, and the energy in the house seemed to change. She said they all started seeing apparitions, like orbs, that woman again. And all of the girls are seeing this activity, like shadows flitting in and out. Suddenly Emily pipes up and she's like, I don't think they like you guys. And she closes the basement door and the activity stops. Jay decides she's had enough. Tammy decides she's had enough. Tammy's like, I'm going to call my mom to pick us up. So Tammy's mom answers. She's like, yeah, I'll come get you guys, but I can't be there for like an hour. Tammy's like, cool. So they're waiting. While they're waiting, they're like, where is your grandmother? And Emily's like, I have to tell you some things about her. She says it was common knowledge in her family that her grandmother made a deal with the devil for her firstborn son. And Jay says that she remembers saying that this was similar to the paranormal activity curse. So because of that, Jay says she doesn't know how much of Emily's story she actually believes, but she does know that Emily's grandmother only had one daughter, Emily's mom. And Emily's mom only had two kids, Emily and then her little brother. But she said the activity only started when her little brother was born. She says they were picked up, they were safe, but they didn't hang out with Emily again after this. She says she remembers the details so vividly and she believes that what she saw was absolutely real, but she's curious for other people's opinions. Do you think the girls were playing a hoax on her? Do you think they pushed her down the stairs? Has anyone else had a similar experience? Like, what do you think about this?